So welcome everyone to this episode of Right Riches Talks with Lale Hancock. Hello Lale.
Hi guys.
And Jutissa Bowman and myself, Steve
Hi.
Bowman. Today what we want to have a chat with you about is the notion of what's beyond the rat race. Because many people have said over many, many years, I want to get out of the rat race. But they're not actually exploring what that looks like in their lives. And in fact, they're judging the rat race as something that they don't want, as opposed to understanding what would take to create differently. Lale, you come across this with all the people that you work with. When they hear the word rat race, what do you think they mean by that?
You know, it's kind of funny because we were talking about this earlier, like rat race for different people means different things. A lot of times people lump all of that into the corporate world. They say, I came from the corporate world or this in the corporate world, and they're really having to chase to do things that they don't enjoy doing. Where when I think of the rat race, I think that can be any place, anytime. It doesn't even have to be that you're working. You could be doing that in your own personal relationships. But when you're actually doing something because you have to do it versus what you actually enjoy doing.
So relationships could also be a rat race. If you
think so.
You have to do it. Oh, that's interesting. I like that. Yeah.
I think the rat race to me is the contextual reality. I think it's bigger than work, really, because a lot of us, as long as we stuck in this contextual reality, we are in the rat race. And as long as we trying to fit, trying to benefit, trying to win, and try not to lose in this reality, we are definitely stuck in the rat race.
So what does moving beyond the rat race look like then? And the first thing that comes to mind as part of this is, well, what do we mean by the rat race? And I think, Lale, you summed it up nicely by anything that we feel that we have to do. So you have to go to work, or you have to look after the kids, or you have to do this, or you have to do that. So everywhere where we have a have to in our life, what if we change that to something that was a little bit more maybe creative or generative, where we would say, okay, so how can I turn this so that it creates change? What would that look like?
Well, when the visual of rat race, it is being in the maze and stuck in there, running around different, pathway and going nowhere. So, anywhere that we feel that we stuck in the maze of running around and going nowhere, that is a rat race. So you're correct when you said that even in the relationship, if the relationship is not joyful, it's not fun, it's not expansive, then we are running in the maze, trying to find the new path, but we end up being trapped in that box anyway.
And if we look at it from the perspective of wealth and riches and money and so on, the rat race in there is everyone trying to get more, trying not to lose anything, and realising in their own way of looking at the world that there's a limited amount out there, so I really can't expect much, but I've got to get it before other people do. Now, that's a pretty serious rat race.
And the thing is, though, in the rat race, it is such a limited space that you can be and do, because there's confined by the space. Some people have a bigger box than the other, but it's still a box, isn't it? So, some of us have huge box, and you think that the box is so large, but in fact, it's still a box. It's still trapped. The three of us actually able to escape from the rat race. So that's how this conversation come about, is we were talking about the fact that based on the corporate world that we used to work in, that's how the term rat race came up. When we talk about rat race, that's what most people think about anyway.
And Jutissa, when you were talking earlier about we escape the rat race, or the rat box, or whatever we want to call it now, it's really interesting. Like, I would say a lot of people say to me, that's what they're looking for. They're looking to escape, but they're not actually willing to look at a different perspective of what they have. So when they try to escape, really, it's almost like getting out of one fire into another fire.
The rat's
versus,
still there.
yeah, it's still there. Nothing has changed. They just changed companies, or they changed the city or state, but it's not. It's about you actually starting with you and looking at your life, looking at your business, looking at your career, and not from making everyone else wrong and you the victim, but wow, total gratitude for everything you have and everything you're being right now. But truly, what is it that you actually would like your life to be like? Let's say 5 years, 10 years, 50 years, whatever that is. And like, not to make whatever you have now wrong, but what if you looked at it from a different perspective? And from there, you actually can create the life that you're looking for versus the escape route that gets you jumping right back into the same fire, just maybe a different face looking at you, you know? And so I love, yeah.
The cool question is, what are you escaping from? If the people think that they have to escape from the rat race, so what? The first question that we have to ask ourselves, what are we escaping from? Because like you said, you can jump from the frying pan into the fire if we don't know that we're escaping from something, or where do we want to get to. So I think first you have to become aware, okay, you don't like this rat race. So what would you like to have?
Do you know what I think most people misidentify escaping as? What are you escaping from? The only true answer would be escaping from the decision that I've made that I have no choice.
Nailed it.
When people move from a job to another because they're escaping from one job, but they're actually saying, well, I want to move to a place where I have more choice. And really the answer is always lying in front of you there, because you've got choice in everything. You can take a job, for example, you can take an organization and you can turn it upside down no matter what position you're in, if you were willing to know that you actually function from choice. I mean, one of the great conversations we have, Lale, with boards and with CEOs around the world is, and we had one just yesterday when we were up in Sydney, up in North Ryde in Sydney. And I had the whole board plus the senior executives there. And I said to the chairman of the board, what would it be like if each of your directors acted as if they were the chair? And we then had that conversation. Well, what does a good chairman do? Well, they make sure that people can have their thoughts heard, that a good chairman will ensure that people are focused on the vision and the difference that we want to create. A good chairman will talk about an issue and not about the person. A good chair, and so we talked through all of those. And then I said to each of them, well, what if you were all like that? And the chairman said to me as I was walking out of the room, coming back to Melbourne, he said, I never thought that everyone could act as if they were good chair, but I'm putting that into place tomorrow. That's where everyone then knows they've got a choice, that they can actually make a change in what they do. And yeah, it's just a really good example of turning everything up on its head. So really talking about getting out of the rat race is really quite interesting, because as soon as you've decided you're in the rat race, you're already saying that you have no choice in these things. So actually it's a bit of a trick topic that we're talking about here, because getting out of the rat race probably translates to, well, maybe if you stopped thinking you had no choice in anything and you started creating rather than reacting to this notion that you've got no choice. Now there's a twist.
Yeah. And how many organizations give you that place though, where you can know you have a choice? Because, as a consultant coming in, that's what we're there. We give voice to everyone. Like I know most of my projects, we bring in people from many different levels. And when I ask them the questions, and it's funny, Steve, you mentioned that, because one of the questions I asked when I was working with this not-for-profit was, okay, if you were the CEO, how would you handle this? What are some of your ideas? And if you were looking ahead in the next 5 years, what are 3 things that as a CEO you'd like to see in this organization? And I remember talking to people who dealt with the clients, the direct support staff, and it was such a beyond for them because no one had ever given them the opportunity to even think that way. But they had some of the greatest ideas, some of the greatest information that really helped the CEO once I put my report together of like, wow, these are things we didn't even think about. So I'm wondering also, people who are watching this, like you said, with that particular board member, you know, what if this is something that all of us, we don't have to be in executive positions, but any position that we're in, be willing to ask the questions of ourselves and of others, and to really empower every level to know that they have a voice and they have a choice.
That's interesting too, though, that, you know, like a lot of people say, okay, I'm in the position that I don't have the power or the choice to make for myself. But that's not true either, because no matter what you are, whether you are the junior staff working in the mailroom or the clerical staff, you could just sit and wait for someone to give you permission to be and do something. But all of us can take on the role and be and do something totally different and claim the power to be that ourselves. So whatever position you are actually in, whether you have any position at all at work, you can be a leader. You don't have to wait for someone to give you the title.
One of the interesting things, and we can all do this, whether we're the house husband, or whether we're a consultant, or whether we do share trading from home, or whether we just, we're a painter, whatever it might be. One of the great questions always to ask is, so what, if I was the leader, what would I be and do here? So why would I not be the leader in this situation? And then, of course, the next question becomes, well, what would a good leader do here? And a good leader would do things like get rid of roadblocks, assist others to be what they should and could be, to actually look at going, no matter what is occurring out there, going where they know something needs to go. It's just a great question about, so what, if I was being the leader here, what would I be and do? And everyone's got that capacity within an organisation, at home, with the kids. If I was being a leader with my children in this situation, what would need to occur? I need to shut up and watch. Yeah. So it's just an interesting question to ask.
So never wait. Make the choice to be the leader.
Exactly. So getting out of the rat race, I think, is probably something for people to consider. That it's more than anything else. I think it's a trap that this reality has put in place, that there is a rat race. And those who feel trapped want to get out of whatever this trap is. But what if the trap was actually just your point of view about how you saw what you were doing with your work or with your life? And therefore, if you want to actually get out of the rat race, change your point of view about everything.
What if there's no such thing as a rat race? And what if that is your own invention and creation?
That's a better way of putting it. I like
that.
If
you think that you have a rat race, did you create that?
Yeah.
And what would you have to be and do different to not escape from it, but totally get rid of it in totality?
Change the game altogether.
Change the game.
Mm-hmm.
Choose to be something else. Don't be a rat, you know.
But it's a choice. Every day we wake up and we have the choice to live our lives the way we did it yesterday and go back into that rat race. Or we can say, you know what, today is a new day and I actually have new choices available to me and I'm going to explore them. And what you said earlier about being a leader, what I love about being a leader, Steve, is that space of curiosity. Yeah. When you are willing to continuously ask questions and you don't think because you're the leader that you have all the answers or that you know anything more than anyone else, but you're willing to constantly stay in the question and keep exploring what's going to keep creating greater.
So the key message here is who you are choosing to be. So if you're choosing to be a rat, then you have to try to escape the rat race. So it is your choice to choose to be something totally different. Be something undefinable. So nothing can trap you in the box.
Good. That's probably not a bad way to finish this one off. So we've hoped you've enjoyed this Right Rich's talks around rats, rat races, leadership from a rat's perspective. I mean, there's all sorts of really cool stuff in here. So we hope you enjoy this, and we look forward to the next conversation with you. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.